Hello, and thank you for watching another episode of Just Get a Real Job. I am your host, Jamie McKinley, and thrilled to welcome on Drew Lausch this week, who is a comedian and who's about to take his show Friendliest to the Edinburgh Fringe. He's over in the States right now, where he's from, originally from Fargo in North Dakota, right? Thanks for coming on the podcast, Drew.
Thanks for having me.
Well, it's always lovely to have somebody from America on the podcast. We'd had quite a few American guests over the years, but it's always nice to get a different perspective. This podcast is all about creative careers, so it's always nice to sort of find out what it's like having a creative career somewhere else. But do you just want to sort of introduce yourself firstly for the listeners? Tell them a bit about yourself, what you're up to. As I mentioned, you're about to come to the Fringe as well.
Yeah, totally. So my name again is Drew Lausch. I am originally from Fargo, North Dakota, which for any, Scottish or British listeners, that's a place you can sort of skip if you're coming to the United States. There's a lot better places to visit. But yeah, so I was goodness gracious, my bio. I'm sorry, I'm with it. I started out as a theater performer and like a dancer, actor, singer. I went to college for musical theater in New York. Um, and then I was working for about a year out of after graduation as a dancer. And I sort of had like I always say that I was cast as a sleeping bag in Beauty and the Beast, which is confusing because it's sorry, not cast as a sleeping bag. I was cast as a magic carpet, but I was put in a sleeping bag costume. And um and I so I was like I always tell people I had this moment of clarity like because I was doing like backflips at the time. I don't do those anymore because I respect myself. But I was doing backflips in this like sleeping bag costume and I like really injured myself. And then I was kind of like, what the actual living fuck am I doing? And then I sort of was like, I'd always wanted to try stand up and I'd always wanted to try writing. And yeah, and after that I was like, I just cannot, this can't be what my life looks like. So then I moved to New York in 2017 to like pursue stand up full time. And yeah, and I've kind of, I mean, and that's kind of been the path since. I've done like stand up really. I always find that this business is cyclical, but I feel like I got into stand up and because the writing, there's so much acting and writing in stand up. So I feel like stand up has now sort of brought me back into like this one man show acting type world. And yeah, that's kind of like where I've landed with Friendliest. It started as an hour of stand up. And then when I started working with my director, Jenny Leon, we were sort of like, this feels like a bigger piece theatrically rather than like me like getting on stage and telling a bunch of like gay hookup stories. It was like, there's probably a little bit more heart here. So, and worth exploring. But yeah, and that's what we're bringing to the Fringe Festival. And
Uh,
was that a good answer?
yeah, I mean, listen, it's your own bio, so
Right.
you
Yeah,
get to
totally.
control it.
You were like, give me a bio. And I said, I was in a sleeping bag costume. You said, that's great.
But it's good to have these core memories that have an impact on your career. But I'm sort of curious. You mentioned there's loads we'll get into, and we'll talk all about your Fringe show and that as well. But I'm curious to sort of talk to you about it growing up and stuff. And you mentioned being from Fargo, which I think a lot of people listening to my podcast and who are from the UK probably mostly associate Fargo with the film and the TV series, which is set there. But like, what was your sort of upbringing like? Were you always interested in being creative, having a career in the arts, or did that sort of come later as well?
Yeah, I pretty much did. It's weird. Fargo's a really small, it's a really big, small town or a really big, small city. Like it's kind of one of those, it's like weird. It's like, I feel like sometimes when I tell people I'm from Fargo, they're like, did you ride a horse to school? And I'm like, no, it's like a town of like, 300,000 people. Don't fact check me on that. But it's like bigger than you'd think. So there is like a very small, but very vibrant arts community there. Um, so I was really fortunate um to like get involved with the local community theater. And I really, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I was young, but I took it so seriously, which was probably so annoying for some people. But yeah, no, I just took it really seriously. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, I just kind of always, because I was involved with that and the community was so vibrant. I felt very lucky to be in that, and they always really pushed me to kind of go off and chase my dreams. And it's weird, there's like a small conglomerate of people that are from there, but that have also like gone on to various like theatrical productions in New York and LA and Chicago, etc. Like one of my best friends, we didn't even know she's going to be in a musical at Underbelly, and like her and I grew up doing like theater together in Fargo, and I was like, what the hell are you going to be doing there? Um,
Fargo, like I remember from watching the TV series and stuff. There, like, there's that sort of cliched accent. Is that quite common there? Or is that more of an outside cliche?
No, it's very common. Because I went to acting school, it was really beaten out of me. Um, but yeah, like I mean the like, oh my gosh, like, oh yeah, you bitch, like that is very like I was just there. Um, like I was just in Fargo and I was doing like local press there for going to Edinburgh because it's like, like Fargo comedians going to Scotland. So like I was like chatting, which is obviously very kind and they're all exceptional and lovely. But yeah, I was kind of like I sat down at a coffee shop and I was like, damn, our accents are thick here.
How do you feel about that sort of being trained out of you? Because often as a Scottish person, like in our
Mm.
this is quite a common thing here. Like a lot of famous Scottish people sort of, I get it to an extent because you want people to be able to understand you, but like they sort of almost have to soften their accent, and sometimes you feel like in like subconsciously you're sort of encouraged to do that by like the more mainstream media and things. Did you have that, or was it kind of just a natural thing of like living in New York and wanting to appeal to a wider audience?
Uh, yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, I like it was just like there was so much like acting training when I went to school, so it was just like this is how you say your O's and like this is how you say your as and your ahs. So it kind of yeah, I don't I don't really miss the accent. If I had a Scottish or a British accent, like those are cool to me. Like I would be sad if I lost my Scottish or British accent, like or like a French accent. Like I would be sad if I lost those. But my Midwest accent, I was like, I don't, I mean, who cares about that? Because it's not. I don't know. Did you watch Fargo and think, wow, this is a sexy accent?
I mean, I don't mind it. I think it's probably better than many accents. It's distinctive, I guess. But then I don't know. I just find it interesting because I sometimes get slagged off by my friends in Scotland who are like, "You put on a bit of a posh accent when you host your podcast, like you're putting on a phone voice," and I'm like, probably I'm a
Oh,
little bit, but then I don't know. I still think I've got enough. I'm happy enough with my voice, but I don't have a particularly in Scotland, like from the east coast of Scotland. I don't have a particularly strong Scottish accent, but I still have an accent. So I don't know. It's just an interesting thing that when you're talking about being from Fargo and stuff, I wondered if that existed in America as all. So it's an interesting conversation.
yeah. Can I ask, what's like the biggest difference between a Scottish and like a British accent?
So, in the friendliest way, it's quite we find it quite amusing
Friendliest.
when Americans say British accent because Britain's
Oh,
obviously these four different countries of like Wales, um, depending who you ask, Northern Ireland. Some people disagree with that. I don't want to
yeah.
take a side on it. England and Scotland. So accents across the whole UK are very different because I think what Americans think of when they think of a British accent would be like a kind of posh London accent.
Right.
Whereas, like, you'll get like in America, you'll get loads of like, there'll be bits of England that are a bit like Fargo, and they'll have like completely different voices, like somewhere like Liverpool and stuff.
Oh,
But I love that. I love how like much different voices and dialects sort of exist in the UK, and even in Scotland. Like where I live in Glasgow, it's such a different. People speak very differently to where I grew up speaking stuff. So yeah, it's an interesting one. But yeah, British accent not really a thing.
right. Thanks for I'm like make sure to cut that.
Not at
No,
all.
but
It's good.
yeah,
Like, but I think a lot of American. It's not the first time it's been said in the podcast, but there you go. It's good knowledge to have when you come to Scotland.
hell yeah, I'm not gonna say that. I'm gonna say your British accent's crazy.
And some Scottish people don't like being called British either, but that's a whole other
Yeah.
conversation. Um, I'm also you sort of talked about feeling encouraged to sort of pursue your dreams and stuff. This is another difference between the UK and America. I'm always interested in. Do you think people are generally quite supportive in America if you have like an ambition to sort of work a creative job?
I don't know. I just think it's so varies. Like I don't think I think there is I, I just think it's yeah, it's so varied. Like there is like the thing of the American dream, right? I think there is like a hustle culture here that is maybe different than other places. I think there's a like, I mean, I feel like this country's I mean, everybody's obsessed with money, but like, I feel like America's real. It's like, I don't know, there's, yeah, it feels like there's a defining characteristic about hustle culture and about like going for whatever you're going for. Like, you can do it, but I don't think everyone had like I had very supportive parents. I had a cool community. They didn't like me because I was gay, but they liked me because I was talented, you know? I mean, I think there was like I certainly had many privileges coming from a family that I did, and also being white is a big thing. Like I don't I think it's really varied across.
Mm.
Um because also it's like even like supporting I mean, I often tell people I'm like for what I spent on college or university here, like I could have bought a home or had like a down payment on a house. You know what I mean? It's like it's so if you want to go to school for something in the arts, it's unless you're get an incredible scholarship, it's like so fucking expensive. I don't even know how you would do it. But on the reverse, it's like there is a world in which you can move to New York or LA or Chicago and like you can really hustle and make something of yourself, which I think is probably true in the UK as well, with a London maybe or something. But yeah, it's varied. I don't know. I can't really give a definitive answer. I don't
Yeah,
think.
I appreciate it because as well, I think it's again, these things can often become quite generalized. So I'll have friends that will go off to LA and be like, you need to, you should come out here. Like it's so much easier to like have a dream because people are way more positive about it. But then, of
Oh,
course, there's all these other things like you say, like I've had so many American guests on this show over the years who'll be like, I'm in so much debt from going to uni. We have student loans in the UK and thankfully in Scotland, it's a bit less. We get some free tuition and stuff, but the difference is stark. Like how much it costs to go to university in America is insane to a lot of
yeah,
people in Britain. They're like, what the like, that's crazy.
yeah.
So as you say, there's all these different factors to it. I was just curious if you felt like a cultural sort of, I don't know, like a almost encouragement that comes maybe more naturally, but it's so hard to quantify these things.
Yeah, I also think, I mean, but it also is like it is and it is. I think it's impossible, but also there's the element of celebrity culture being so big here, which again I think it's big in the UK too. But I think there is like Americans are told by the media that if we get famous, we will be happy, which I think
Mm.
sort of coincides with like being an artist in a certain regard, but like that's also, I don't know, kind of like a different side of the equation.
Yeah, and I think often people see that overnight success and think, oh, that's just so easy that you just wake up and that'll be you if you try like a couple of days doing this or whatever, which of course, as you'll know from spending many years slowly building yourself up as a comedian and writer and stuff, it takes a
Yeah.
long time and lots of uncertainty and hard work.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty horrible.
Well, I want to sort of talk to you about becoming a stand-up and your
Yeah.
sort of journey into comedy. I know you went to New York and you were at school there and stuff, but like, how did you sort of start getting into stand-up and slowly build a following and things? How did that come about?
Yeah, so so when I was in so I yeah, so as I said earlier, I was in musical theater college, which was just like sort of a mess. But I there was an assignment in school that we had to do a 10-minute cabaret, and that assignment was really profound for me because I was like, I don't really want to sing or dance with this cabaret. I just wanted to get up and tell stories. And so I ended up doing like 10 minutes of like really shitty stand up for this school assignment. And that was my senior year. And then after I did, that was like first semester of my senior year. And then the second semester, I had a friend who was really interested in doing drag. And he and I were like, let's not audition for the school productions. Let's like produce our own thing. And so then the end of my senior year, we ended up doing this like really weird, like 2 hour like drag variety show. And I did like 45 minutes of like I had no business doing 45 minutes of stand up. It was like my first try, but I was like, yeah, I could probably do this for 45 minutes. Um yeah, yeah, and so then after that, and then as I said earlier, I really started with the sleeping bag costume thing, but then it was like after that, like because I like had caught the bug there, and so then I worked as a dancer. But then when I moved back to New York, I actually ended up taking I took a stand up comedy course, which was like $300, and it was basically with this comedian who was like, she basically was like teaching us how to like joke right, or like helping us refine some of our jokes. But I was really inspired by the class. I love that there were so many people from different walks of life who like all had a point of view, and who all had who I don't know. I just like I loved hearing like I'll always think about like there was this mailman in my class, and he like fucking hated his kids, and it was awesome. Like it was so funny to me that this mailman was like delivering mail and then like coming to a stand-up comedy course, and he was like, my kids suck. And like I was like, this is so like this is so honest and cool. Um and so after I took the stand-up course, I just really started hustling in New York, and I started producing my own shows. Um, and like, yeah, I don't know. I was producing for about a year, and then I got super involved in sort of the queer alt Brooklyn scene. And then I started doing a bit of like musical comedy, which kind of led to me booking Alan Cumming's Showtime special, which was like obviously really huge for my career. Um, and yeah, and then from that, I mean, yeah, it's been a hustle, but it's like it's been good enough.
No, you're doing really well from the outside, like looking at your
Yeah.
socials and you know, it's great. I mean, even doing something what like the Alan Cumming stuff, like that's great. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I hope.
But tell us about the sort of scene in New York, things you were talking about. There's certain scenes that have been really helpful. Is there people around you that have been inspiring you that help you sort of get work and help you improve and things?
Mm, yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's so interesting. I feel like, and again, this is probably very similar in the UK, but it's like, I feel like the entertainment world and business is so much smaller than people think it is. Like, I think I've been
Yeah.
hustling I've been hustling for like probably, I don't know, 7, 8 years seriously, but it's like, and especially with social media now too, it's like I just feel like everybody's connected. So it's like if it's like I feel like I know almost every gay comedian, like, which isn't true. But I'm like I feel like if I go somewhere, I'm like I probably know somebody here who can help. But yeah. The Brooklyn queer alt scene was really cool, and kind of changed my perspective. When I first started, I was doing like clubs in Manhattan, which are really like it's a good training boot camp, but they're very straight, and it's a bunch of like straight guys like talking about like I don't even know. I mean, it's like a mess. Like they're just it's not super my vibe. They're like racist, they're like fucking bitches. It's like this is horrible, but you're also like, okay, anything for stage time. Um, but yeah, people who have inspired me. I was coming up, when I was first sort of starting comedy in New York, there were a few people who I was like, oh my gosh, like they're amazing and they're really killing it. Rachel Sennett being one of them. She was
Oh my
always
god, yeah,
really,
she's great and like
yeah, she's,
it's made some. She gives me the fear though when I say that she's so, like I think she's young. I just turned 30. She's younger than me, and I'm like she's done these incredible films. I'm always like, my god, you're killing it.
yeah, and she's always been like a superstar, but even like watching her, I was just like, oh my God, I've got to get my shit together. I mean, she was like, yeah, so she was always really cool to watch. Benito Skinner, was always really cool to watch perform. Have you seen his show Overcompensating?
No, I actually haven't.
It's on Prime Video, but it's with him and Mary Beth Barone's in it too. She's also like was a comedian who I always looked up to when I was kind of coming up in the scene. But yeah, those were people that I really looked up to. I mean, I was just like, gosh, they're so talented and nice and like successful. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think if you're sort of in the scene, for the most part, people will do their best to help you out. Because even with like the Alan Cummings Showtime special, like that was we were doing shows in New York, and then the director, who's amazing, Ryan Cunningham of that special, like saw a show and was like, y'all should do the special. Like it was very much like if you're in the ecosystem, that will probably benefit you quite a bit.
And how like was that special? Like, was that the first time you maybe felt like, okay, I can do this as a career potentially, or did you sort of think that already?
I'm so brazen and delusional. I've always thought I could do it, but yeah, that was a big. I mean, I think there were a few moments. The first time I headlined by myself in Asheville was really was like a really big moment for me, like doing an hour by myself like that. And now, I wasn't, I don't know, I didn't have much clout. Not that I think I have a ton of clout now, but like that was really big because it was like I was proving I could do something. But yeah, that was, I mean, yeah, that was really cool. I mean, to have Alan Cumming come up to you and be like, "Hey, I'm like a fan." You're like, "Okay, hell yeah." I mean, I must be doing something right. But yeah, no, yeah, that was, I mean, that was a big, yeah, that was a big, like, that certainly was a big turning point. But there have been a few. I produced my own web series that, or like, that was made that I got like investors and stuff. That was really big because I was like, I'm writing and producing and acting. So that was really like a big moment for me. I recently did Friendliest we did like our LA premiere of it, and like a man like flew in to see me, like that had never, like he came up and was like, I flew in from um uh Arizona like to see your show. And I was like, I don't know if I've ever had someone like fly in to see my show before. Like, that's, you don't know, I was sobbing. I was like, you don't know how much this means to me. But yeah, it's going well enough.
It's always lovely to have. I've never had somebody fly in to see me do a live podcast exactly, but do you know what I mean? It's always lovely when somebody messages you or comes up to you at the end of a show or something and just says like, "Oh, I've come from so and so to see." Like, I don't think people always realize how much that can mean to somebody because often this job, no matter what part of the creative industry you're in, can kind of feel like you're in a vacuum sometimes because you're so focused and you're so in it that those moments are can be like really meaningful.
Yeah, well, it's like even like, when that show wasn't even sold out, we were probably like three-fourths sold, which, great. But I was kind of like, it's like you're in your head about so much stuff, and it's not all about validation, but unfortunately, this career is so, it's like validation is like the best drug on the planet. It's like someone says good job or I like you or I'm a big fan, and you're like, oh my God, say it again, but like slower. Like, that's awesome. But yeah, no, it was really sweet and totally affirming. I was like, okay, I feel more confident to go to Edinburgh even now. I'm like, okay, if some guy from Arizona wants to come see me, then I mean, there's got to be someone in the UK who wants to see me.
No, there'll be lots of people. It's the Edinburgh is always a great buzz, and we'll talk about your show shortly. But
Yeah.
it's sort of interesting point you were talking about that external validation. I completely agree. It's like it can be the best drug ever. But on the
Yeah.
flip side, do you sometimes find because often people say if you enjoy all the compliments, then unfortunately that means you could sometimes find the negative stuff hard. Like you can take that on board. Are
Mhm.
you quite? Have you got a thick skin? Are you able to deal with rejection or negative comments, or do you sometimes find that still quite tricky?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, yeah, again, yes and no. I think over the years it gets easier. I think there are some. It's like weird. I think it's also like some things sting more. Like I feel like I've applied and auditioned for so many things and I continuously do so, so that I think the best thing you can do in this business is to forget you even like applied or like auditioned or like what, like truly, I think, because then you like get a rejection email and you're like, I don't even know what the fuck this is. Like what, like, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, I guess I didn't book the Dunkin' Donuts commercial. Like, okay, it's like, I think you can kind of, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'm trying to think. There was one time I was doing a bunch of shows it's like this like gay city in Florida. It's like a bunch of like gay retired folks go there. And I was doing like a month of shows there. And like a lot of the like older queer men like didn't like, there was like some discourse about me, and that for whatever reason, like, I don't know if hurt my feelings is the right word, but I was a little bit like, wait, like I'm on your side. And there was like there was sort of some Facebook fodder that was like, oh, I don't like, we think he's horrible. And I was kind of like, wait, but guys, get to know me first. But for the most part, I can't give a shit, or I'd probably quit.
Do you think as well that that's sometimes because certain people have a certain style of doing comedy or stand up, and sometimes people can take things kind of literally? Like, obviously, you are being you on stage, but like, it's sort of a persona in the terms of like you have a style and way of telling jokes.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, I think also it's like if I'm doing like racier material or something, it's like that. not racist material, just like more to be clear. Um, whoa. But just like, I don't know. Sometimes if I'm talking about my sex life and it's more graphic, then I one time did a couple shows at a casino in Indiana, and if you ever visit the States, Indiana is also a place you can certainly skip. It's an absolute shithole. But I think like I was in this casino and I was like talking about, losing my virginity. And like these old Indiana people like wanted to shoot me with a gun. They were like, fuck this guy. I mean, respectfully, which I guess it's America though, so then maybe they did want to shoot me with a gun. But they were really like, they weren't feeling it. So I mean, it's about finding your audience too. But for the most part, if someone doesn't like me, I'm kind of like, well, whatever, I don't care.
No, I think unfortunately it's an important skill. You sort of have to learn to be like, right, push that to one side. But I do think sometimes reviewers can also be too like I think I get reviewers and things have jobs to do, but sometimes when it gets personal, I think that's just talk about the show, talk about the work, but you don't maybe need to maybe slight people's personality and things.
Yeah, I think also like I there's as been hustling like more of an online presence, I think it is wild how comfortable people are like coming for your like the way you look. Like that was really
Yeah.
something. Like I was always kind of like, oh, whatever. Like there was a video of mine that went sort of viral, and like the discourse on my teeth was like people could not like, and I was like, what the hell's wrong with my teeth? Like, so it's like kind of random. And I think sometimes you can like I don't know, like sometimes I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Sometimes I think comments about your body or your face or whatever the fuck, you can be like, damn, that kind of hurt my feelings.
Well, I mean, that
Like
is
I
really
have,
nasty. Like it is
yeah.
just a bit me. I find
Yeah.
it strange. People would say things. People often say things on social media that you just know for a fact if they were at your show, they just wouldn't say it because they'd be embarrassed for people to know they said it.
Yeah. I know. Well, that's like the other thing. It's like, yeah, I mean, of course they wouldn't. But like, I don't know. Have you ever like written a hate comment on someone's like video? You can be honest.
No, never like anything like really mean or personal. Like sometimes I've commented on things if it's like maybe something political or something that maybe I'm passionate about and it's triggered me. I'd maybe
Sure.
comment, but even that I've tried to stop doing that because I sometimes get comments for this podcast because often there'll be conversations I'll have about something that's wrong with the arts. How can we fix this thing? And often, unfortunately, with social media, as you'll know, sometimes people that aren't really in your niche or in your area will see your video and it's not really even for them and they don't understand
Yeah.
the context and they'll start commenting and I'll find myself arguing with like people were saying something I'd posted once was woke or some nonsense, and I don't even know what they were talking about genuinely, but they got into this whole argument. I remember thinking, what a complete waste of time. Why am I arguing with probably not even a real person on TikTok? This is a waste of my time. But yeah, it's not good.
Yeah. No, no, it isn't. No, and I've never written a hate comment either, but I think so. I'm always like, that's such an interesting. I don't know. I'm always like, what compelled you to do that? But such is life. Here we are recording ourselves. So,
You
that's
putting
we
yourselves out
we
there a wee
still
bit.
exactly we still want to put it all out there.
But I do think as well, what makes me feel better is the amount. It's not good for the world, but the amount of accounts that are clearly not real. They're like bot farms in like Russia or other places, like of people like just trying to like stir up division. Which you sometimes just go on these accounts and you're like, this can't be real. It's got like a flag and like one follower and stuff. So sometimes I try to just ignore those comments and be like, I'm not even giving it the time of day.
Yeah. Yeah. I write them all in my diary.
No,
Honestly.
sometimes it's you want to say things, but you have to just remember it's not always real.
Mhm.
Um, before we go and talk about Edinburgh as well, we kind of touched on it briefly there, but what would you say your sort of stand-up comic style is? I've seen some of your videos and you described it as sort of some of it is a bit racier. Just to be clear again, not racist, racier as in like.
Right. Yeah, how would I describe my style? I mean, I think it's very like one time someone did a review of my stand up. I did some shows in Dallas and they said I always remember because they were like it feels like a dinner date that's going really well, but then is sometimes like really wild. And I was sort of like that feels really accurate. Like I think like if you're coming to my stand up, I feel like it would maybe feel like a like you're at like a dive bar with like your good friend and you're like telling stories and then all of a sudden it's like wow you're really fucked up.
That's quite a nice way to. That's a good like way of describing someone quite succinctly, though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. No, for sure. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I feel like it's very conversational. I talk a lot about growing up gay in North Dakota. That was a really cool way in. Like, there's a bunch of, yeah, I don't know. I think there's like a bunch of weird, funny shit coming from like a town in the Midwest. So there's that. But I talk a lot about my dating life, my sex life, general observations of the world. But yeah, I would say, yeah, I would say it's like going on a date with me, and sometimes it's scary.
Have you ever had that thing where you worry somebody you might know from real life is in the audience, or somebody you might have met before is in the audience, or have you sort of do you just sort of think best not to worry about that too much?
Not really, but sometimes like if I've told a joke and it's like specifically about someone that I've like been on a date with or I've slept with or like something, and then they like see the clip online, like that I and it's like maybe like it's maybe not me painting them in like the best light. I always try to like paint myself as like the nightmare for the most part, but then sometimes people are, absolute messes and I'm like, well, unfortunately, you deserve this one. But sometimes I feel like a little like sometimes I'll be like I kind of wish or like I don't know. Like I feel a little like it's probably awkward for you to watch me tell this joke about our date on stage.
It's a hard one though, I guess, because comedy also often like embellishes a bit of real life. You make things into a better story, and I mean, I
Yeah.
always admire stand up because I think it must be one of the hardest art forms to do because you're sort of having to be you on stage in a very difficult way.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, sometimes like if I've had family in a crowd, I'll be like, okay, well, you're about to hear a lot about your nephew getting railed. Like it's like that, I'm like maybe that's not. But again, it's like a gig and it's a joke, so I feel like I've kind of separated that in my mind.
Yeah, I even though get quite self conscious if people I know in day to day life see the stuff I post on social media, just in terms of clips, because you feel like you're sort of sometimes being vulnerable, or sometimes just doing a video, you're like, oh, this is more for my audience, and you don't need to watch, but like it's just part of it as well. You have to kind of just go, oh well, it's not really for them.
Yeah, I mean, there's TikToks that I originally posted, like when I was really trying to grow my thing, and like I look at those TikToks and I'm like, you were not well. Like I cannot believe you posted this. Like I can't believe it. I feel like I'm sort of a bit more discerning as I've gotten a bit older. But like when I started posting on TikTok, it's like if my dad saw that, he would just be humiliated.
It's difficult though. I mean, it's social again.
Yeah,
Social parasocial. This is the thing about parasocial. Like, you'll be the people watching those videos in Arizona coming to see your show that love it, and it's always that
right.
weird thing to get your head around. But
Yeah,
you sort of touched on like growing up in Fargo, gay and feeling like an outsider, and sometimes, and I know that's kind of a lot of what your Fringe show Friendliest sort of explores. So. Tell us about Friendliest. Where can people see it? Why should people come see it? All that stuff. Let's get into promo mode now. There you go.
hell yeah, yeah, yeah. I have like a clipboard. Yeah. So it's at the Gilded Balloon at 6 p.m. in Gilded Balloon Teviot.
TV it.
The Nook
There you go.
Teviot. Thank you. God, I'm so glad I'm learning so much from this podcast.
It's
I
okay,
won't
man.
make a I know I won't make a fool of myself. I don't even know how to say
If it
my
makes you
bad.
feel any better, the amount of English people, my girlfriend's English, the amount of English people that can't say certain things in Scotland properly either, it's all good. No one's going to mind. A lot of people in Edinburgh are from England anyway, so it's
Right.
grand. You make mistakes, you'll learn. We'll embrace you. We're very friendly.
Everybody makes mistakes. Yeah, it's at Teviot, the Nook, at 6 p.m. for the majority of or for all of the festival, I guess. We're not performing on the 18th, so, boohoo if you wanted to come the 18th. But yeah, basically the show is set up like at a big pitch meeting. So I'm pitching the world's first gay superhero whose name is Fagman. And I came up with the nickname or the name myself. And Fagman was the nickname given to me by my school's hockey team. So the show is very much me taking something that was meant to shame me and turning it into something super. And yeah, as I pitch this gay superhero, it starts as a pitch and ends up sort of revealing my origin story of growing up queer in North Dakota, and kind of asks the question, who's like who's a hero, who's a villain, who's worth redemption, and who gets to decide whether or not you're worthy of redemption. And it's
Nice.
hilarious.
No, it's an interesting idea to like sort of take that the superhero thing that it's so many people know about that genre, but you're right. Like you don't, it tends to be a very specific type of person that is cast as a hero in popular
Hmm.
culture.
Yeah, I really wanted to write. It's interesting because it's like again, this started as stand up, but now it's kind of become more of like a character version. It's like obviously a version of me, but it's certainly like I wanted to write a character, and I wanted to write a character who's pitching a hero, and they're both like blistering messes, but still considered a hero. I was way more interested in looking at the morality of this guy, and not and like this and like letting the audience decide whether or not he's a, a hero or not. But like I yeah, I don't know. I was so disinterested in like heroes having a perfect life, but also I think there's so many straight superhero origin stories out there where the guy is like a fucking nightmare, but like he's like considered like the best person on the planet. And it's like, and I find that so many gay characters in fiction and television and theater and whatever, it's like they're either like a quippy best friend, or their like life is decimated by the 80s AIDS epidemic. Like there's no in between. And it's like, well,
Hmm.
what if there was a character that was like relatable to everybody? Because it's like you don't really know if he's good or bad, but like he's really doing his best. And like like that was really interesting to me and to write.
Oh, for sure. How do you feel like sort of well being wise? Like, doing a show that's quite heavy. A lot of it's based on some of your own struggles along the way. Do you ever find that kind of emotionally tiring, especially if you're like doing such a long run and for the whole of August? Like, do you have to protect your mental health from that sometimes, or are you sort of able to enjoy it and see it for like the joyfulness of it?
Yeah, I mean, my mental health went out a long time ago. Um, so, yeah, I mean, I feel like I did another interview, and I feel like that where I said something along the lines of like, when I'm writing with my director, Jenny, it's like, I feel like sometimes in the writing process, it's like if I veer too off the path from like the truth of what actually happened, I'm kind of like, oh, this sucks and this isn't truthful. But if I go way too truthful, then I'm like, I needed like a tequila and a hug. Like I think there's a happy middle ground. And as I've done it, I feel like I don't know. It's also interesting. It's like some shows have hit me emotionally more than others. Like sometimes I'm like, wow, that was a really great performance, and then other times I'm like, wow, I gotta see my therapist. Stop.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting one. Like the sort of how you mentally approach like art and things. Like
Yeah.
having a creative career, how do you like sort of protect your mental health generally? Like, because you're trying to make a career as a stand-up. Like, I imagine you're doing a lot of late nights. You're probably out in places where people are drinking a lot. Like that can
Yeah.
become quite tiring as well for a lot of comics.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's weird. It's like I feel like when you're in the hustle, it's so addicting. And I say the hustle being like stand up writing and acting. I think when you're kind of like, when you're in the machine and you're just sort of like, I'm doing it, I'm doing it, I'm doing it, I think it can be really exciting. And it's sort of like, obviously, if you're in this business, you have big dreams and you want them to come true. And hard work meets luck. It's like you really have to be hustling all the time. But like, I didn't take an entire week and a half off, but like I really was like not super I wasn't super plugged in. I didn't like post anything on social media. Like I was kind of like I was chilling at like at a lake house in Minnesota, and I really unplugged, and like that I was like, this is really awesome. And I don't know, I just think remembering to like take breaks, and also remembering like the point of this life is, of course, like we want to be successful, but it's also to like, I don't know, like enjoy the sunsets with your friends. It's like that's really important, and like we're all gonna die one day, so it's like it's not gonna matter if like you booked that one show. It's like I hope you enjoyed the the process. Do you watch Real Housewives?
I've seen it before. I've never like watched it, but like properly. But it's like on. It's been on TV and stuff, and
Yeah.
I've been in the room.
You seem like a big Housewives guy. But I, but I, there's one housewife, Bozoma St. John, and she said this quote, and I actually, me quoting a housewife in this interview, you're like, I want this to end. But
Not
she
at all.
talked about how
Go
she
for
was
it.
like, I know, but she said this quote, and it was like, I don't want to reach the end of my life and just have lived the length of it. I want to live the width of it. And I thought that was really like profound. And I've like been trying to remember that quote. I'm like, I want to like the living the width of your life is very important to me. And I feel like for some reason, like when I'm in the weeds about it, I remember with that Bozoma St. John, the housewife said that. And I'm like, just remember life, like every day there's so much width. It's not just about getting to like 80, 90 and then dying. It's like there's so much in between that's really exciting. That deals with the career, but then also is about it's about having fun, you know? And yeah.
I love that. I didn't think that there would be a Housewives quote there that was going to be so. So I no, it's really nice. It's a nice way of thinking of it. We could all do with reminding ourselves that sometimes for sure. Just to say to everyone watching and listening along, like there's links to all Drew's socials and Fringe show and everything in the show notes. So if you want to book tickets, just click there below. You don't even have to go no way and search it. You can just scroll down and find it. It's so easy for you. So no excuse. Go and buy a ticket. You sort of touched on social media there, Drew, as well. I want to talk to you about this because obviously this is like the thing everyone talks about now, but so many creatives and comics and stuff really need to use social media well to like market themselves. You'd like building quite a big following now. How much do you think about social media? How much are you having to put into that?
Yeah, I mean, I ebb and flow. I mean, it's like people say, you know, your Instagram isn't worth anything unless you have like 250,000 followers. And it's like, oh my God, put a bullet in
Jesus
my
Christ,
brain.
I've got like
Um,
I'm way off that. I'm quite happy just having getting a few thousand and slowly growing, but damn.
well, it's time to get to work. I'm just kidding. Yeah, no, I mean, I mean, it's like a necessary evil. Eh, But some people really love it. I think sometimes with social media, it can be like really fun. Like, I think if you're having like hitting a natural stride, like I love when I'm like a week, I have like an idea every day and I post and it does pretty well. I'm like, this is fun. But then you have like, but it's so addicting and it's such a drug. It's like if you don't get that dopamine, then you're like sad and then you're comparing and like the whole thing. But yeah, I mean, it's a necessary evil. I'm hoping that I don't know. I feel like there's kind of a pendulum swing. Obviously, if you have millions and millions of followers, you're going to be able to make a career for yourself, but I feel like I feel like sometimes the pendulum swings like it doesn't always matter. Like sometimes it is about the work being good. Like you can sell a pilot if it's good enough. Like you don't have to, you don't have to have a million followers to do that, although it sometimes can help. But I like that. I feel like I've been told a bunch by people going to the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, or just about it in general, is that it's like obviously again follower counts are things and like how you sell tickets, etc. But it's someone said to me it's one of the last few places where like no matter what the good rises to the top, and I think that's really inspiring. And I like because it's like I think some of the best work people put in, but they don't, it's like but they can't sell the tickets because they don't have the following, and it's like that to me feels like bullshit. But it's a necessary evil.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean right now I'm thinking, God, I better post today.
I think that is partly true about Edinburgh though, because there is a class aspect where money does unfortunately talk, and a lot of great comics can't always maybe afford to put the money in, do a full run, or like have as big an impact as they would. But what is good about Edinburgh is that I think it's that word of mouth thing at the Edinburgh Fringe,
Yeah,
where like
totally.
that is true. If you do a really good show, like people do talk, and you can sell like rooms that way and stuff, and it's still that nice, good old fashioned going out and flyer in your show and speaking to people on the street and stuff, getting them in is nice. And, I think people miss that in this social media age because you see so many adverts and people wanting you to click on their stuff on socials that you kind of almost become desensitized to it sometimes. So, yeah.
Well, you are, and it's like discovering something is like sort of it's like that's so rare, but that's why it's also so exciting. It's like, oh my gosh, like if you really feel like you've discovered something that like no one knows, it's like that feels very rare in this day and age.
Yeah, no, it definitely does. And I think also why authentic things are clicking so much now, like people just posting about like that, not just the best parts of their life, but like, oh, I'm making a creative career in this part of it's really hard. Like, I think people quite like that truth. I always find videos I post which are a bit more honest like that tend to do better now than me going like, oh, I did this amazing podcast live, or I don't know. I think there's an appetite
Yeah.
for that.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. Radical honesty is where it's at.
Well, we have one of the questions we often like to close on in this podcast is asking our guests like what their advice would be for somebody that wants to do what they do. So for anyone that wants to be a comic anywhere in the world, not just in the States or UK and stuff, but what would you say to them? What sort of advice would you give them?
Quit. No, I think what is advice I would give? Well, I think like not even so much just about being a comic, but I think the entertainment like business as a whole. Like I think like if you're I just think like horrible advice. I think you should do like you should do as much as you want to do and like building your IP. Like I think like do like don't just be a stand up. Like if unless you just want to be a stand up, that's great. But I think like what's helped my career out the most is me being a stand up and then being a writer and being an actor and hustling all of those things at the same time. I think like if you are a stand up, you should absolutely be writing for television or writing sketches or whatever. Like there's always that. And then like if you're an actor and you've thought about maybe trying stand up, like you should try stand up because it will only like help you like it will only like help bring your brand higher to whatever goals you have. And I think sometimes like you doing a random like you doing so I don't know. I just think like if you're an incredible editor, like that's great. That will eventually help your career as a stand-up and as like an actor. I just think it's like a work begets work. So that was a really long-winded answer of me saying you should do a lot more than just one thing. But I think that is like I think that is the yeah, that is the case. Also, and the second thing is like do because we're all doing like passion projects and for oftentimes I mean you have to do some shit for money, but I think like if you're gonna pursue a career in this, you only like and you're self-funding something or you're self-producing, like only do the stuff that you really give a fuck about. Don't do the stuff that people tell you to do or don't do the stuff that people are like, "Oh, well you're only successful if you do this," or like your only value is if you do this sort of thing, like do the stuff that you in your gut know you care about, because I think that's what I think will bring you more success than you could ever imagine.
No, I think that's really true though. I think both very good bits of advice. I think first, like the first, what you're saying in the first part, like sadly we're in this time where like you can't really make a living doing one aspect of it. You do need to have these sort of diversify and have more than one skill set to like, and they all feed into each other, which I think is
Yeah.
very true. Um, Drew, thank you very much for coming on the show. It's been lovely to chat to you. Look, I hope you're looking forward to coming to Edinburgh. I know you've been before, but you must be excited.
I truly can't wait. Yeah, I'm so excited. Also, it's like the first time I went, I was 18, and like we were like all drinking for the first time. Like we were disasters. I'm excited to be like a proper adult and like really experience the festival.
Drew, thank you very much. Your
Yeah.
show, his show Friendliest is on in August. There's links to it in the show notes. Gilda Balloon, TV it. Go and check out. Drew, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate you coming on the show.
Just get a real job.